Hey guys, this is Mark Shaw's in the Pattern Trader, and recently Will posted this little comment on our review website. So Will went on to say, excellent tutorials through Mark's webinar each week, exceptional presentation of the graphs and long-term views, easy to follow leads for the elite program, but the one major factor is the pride and time Mark and his team put into each weekly webinar. They are first class. I wish I had 1% of Mark's ability. So Will, thanks a ton for posting that, and your comments are truly appreciated, and I'm sure my team will appreciate those too. So today we had a massive reversal in a lot of the markets, primarily the U.S. stock market on heightened new coronavirus fears. Now, it's always amazing to me how these news comes out, the outliers come out, and then you see this market action and it looks like it just came out of nowhere. Now, I have been predicting that the 70 level in the Australian dollar versus the US dollar was going to be a major resistance area. So if you remember, in the February-March plunge during the coronavirus fears, the Australian dollar plummeted to 55 cents versus the Australian dollar, put on a double bottom, and then had a huge recoil. And for the last weeks and weeks and weeks, has been going higher and higher. But I said, look, the Australian dollar versus US dollar is in a long-term downtrend, and that it's just not going to go up week over week without hitting a huge pothole in the road. And to me, the pothole in the road was the 0.70 level in the Australian dollar. I'm going to flash a chart of the Australian dollar, and you can see how previous resistance levels at the 70 price level have been previous containment. And now when we shot up, we just got a hair over the 70 level, and then you see this major key reversal. And what do I mean by key reversal? This is when, in this particular chart, we're looking at a weekly chart of the Australian dollar versus the US dollar, and prices shot up earlier in the week to all-time highs for the last several months, and then you can see now they're residing on the lows. So despite the fact that we have made new highs for the week, the sellers are in control. So I would expect, at least for the short term, that we have put in a top for the Australian dollar versus the US dollar. Now, coinciding with the major end of the rally in the Australian dollar, I'm going to flash a chart now of the Nasdaq. This is in one of your trading platforms, NASUSD. Sometimes you see it NAXUSD, but this is the Nasdaq. This is the weekly chart of the Nasdaq tech sector in the United States. And you can see we got a hair over the all-time highs, and just like a knife doesn't slice through butter, these markets, whenever they hit or go to an area that has been a major impediment, and we can certainly see that the previous impediment in the Nasdaq sent this market careening down 40%. So now when we retested this level, came a hair above it. Again, just to use the metaphor that just like a knife, slicing through butter, the markets don't do that either. Meaning that when we get these major resistance areas, at least for a time, the market respects these areas. And so irrespective of whatever the news came out, I expected that these resistance areas in the Australian US and the NAS US, they were going to present large short-term obstacles. And then the news came out, we saw these weekly price reversals, and to my mind, this was not a shock. So where do we go from here in Australian dollar and the Nasdaq exchanges? Not terribly sure, but I fully expect that we have put in short-term tops, given the extent and the pace, the acceleration and the time frame that these respective markets climbed. I would expect they needed a breather, and these price levels presented just that breathing opportunity. So while I do expect they will resume perhaps in the direction from whence they came, these reversals in Australian dollar and US dollar, I expect need to be respected. We may go into trading ranges after this. We may have put on a short-term top. I don't expect prices to plummet from here, but I do expect these reversals, or I should rather say you should respect these reversals. And going into next week, I'm going to see how price action plays around here and look to put on trades from here. But I do expect to try the short side of both of these pairs based on these reversals at these key inflection points. So with that said, I wish you a healthy and prosperous trading week, and I'll see you next time.